Good evening, everyone. According to the clock, it is 6:01. I'd like to call the regular meeting for Sumter County Council for Tuesday, February 9th to order. Ms. B, would you please give us an invitation? Please let us all stand and remain standing for the pledge of allegiance.
Let us pray. Our dear kind Heavenly Father, we do thank you for allowing us to come to another meeting and to do your service. We invite your presence and ask that you help us to go through every agenda item in your way. Thank you for your many blessings. We ask that you continue to heal those who are ailing from COVID or anything else. And we ask that you just look over us on every level of government and help us to learn how to love and to forgive and to show kindness to one another. These and all blessings we thank and ask in your name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Blanding, are there any changes to the agenda?
Sir, there are no changes.
Okay, and please let me remind all council members, if you speak, please speak directly into the microphone so Ms. Blanding can accurately put your remarks in the minutes. Move for approval, then.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All in favor of approving the agenda? Aye. All opposed? The agenda is approved. We have a motion to approve the minutes of our regular meeting.
Approval, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Baton.
Second.
And moved by Mr. Baton and seconded by Mr. Baker that we approve our minutes. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? First item on the agenda, land use matters, OA 2001, Ms. Rubin.
Good evening, Helen Reardon for planning staff. OA 2001 is an amendment for development densities in the airfield compatibility district. This essentially would amend the zoning and development standards ordinance, Article 3, Section R, where we have established airfield compatibility districts to create a third district, as well as implement some additional development standards that will result in a dispersed pattern of development in that newly created district. Kind of how we got to where we are today. In December of 2019, we adopted the 2040 Comprehensive Plan, and one of the overarching goals of that plan was to protect our Air Force Base and points at range and their missions from unwanted and incompatible development encroachment. At that time, we also reevaluated and extended the NPA boundaries based on the Joint Land Use Study's recommendations. The 2016 Joint Land Use Study supports 1 unit per acre development density in areas impacted by military operations outside of the clear zones and the accident potential zones, which are the two districts that were created and adopted as part of the Airfield Compatibility District and came from the Joint Land Use Study recommendations. Currently, our Agricultural Conservation District, which is a bulk of the county outside of our major development corridors, does allow a minimum 1 unit per acre development for its lot size, but the minimum lot width in the AC district is 60 feet with no width to depth ratio requirements. Based on that, our regulations can be used to create development densities at the street level that reflect R6 or I9 development. Just to kind of give you an example, these are done to scale. These are acceptable AC lots in the agricultural zoning district, but what you end up with is 100-foot lot width with your 35-foot front setback, your 12-foot side setbacks, and then you could put a 75 by 30 dwelling, which is approximately 2,250 square feet. This is a footprint of common of what you would find in current houses on the market that have attached garages. You end up with 120 feet from front of dwelling to front of dwelling, and then only 24 feet from side to side between each dwelling. With this development pattern, you actually end up with 14 dwelling units within 700 linear feet, which calculates out to about 2 houses per 100 linear feet. So you get this more clustered design. We think that's good in certain parts of the county to help with land preservation in areas where we want to preserve large expanses of open space. But under the extended center line of Shaw Air Force Base's runway, which are the areas just north and south of the purple and blue that you see in this map, it doesn't really make sense to allow that kind of density and that kind of clustering right underneath the extended center line of the runway. What you see on the right side of the screen is the boundary of the military protection planning area, which is the extent of the area around Shaw that we seek to protect in the 2040 plan. So keep that in mind. We kind of use this as a barrier to create what we're calling a density dispersion zone. So our proposed ordinance language would result in this new density dispersion zone, which would amend the minimum lot width just in that area to be 220 feet wide, minimum 1 acre lot size, and then we deal with 35-foot front setback or 45 feet if it's on an arterial street, and then 50-foot side and rear setbacks. We would also amend the zoning and development standards ordinance in Article 3, where the AC regulations are normally held, to reference that you need to check this section of the ordinance to ensure to create. Pardon me. And as you see, those kind of parallel where the ends of the military protection planning area are located. Based on those development standards that we're proposing, you end up with a development pattern that is to scale that looks like this. So you do have your 1 acre lots. You still have your 2,200 square foot dwellings, but you increase the side and rear setbacks, and you increase the separation between the buildings, and de facto end up with 8 dwelling units within 880 linear feet, which works out to like 0.9 dwelling units per 100 linear feet. This makes sense when you're trying to preserve life and loss of property in areas that are more susceptible to having an airplane land on them. Pardon me, it's hot under this mask. Overall, we do recommend that it is appropriate to look at creating this new density dispersion district to address that issue of clustering at the ends of the runway. It is supported by the 2040 plan, the 2016 J-Lead study, as well as supporting Shaw Air Force Base's operations and its mission. Happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions from this room?
2 quick questions.
Yes.
Do you know how many landowners this will affect and how much acreage this would affect?
I do not know completely off the top of my head how much. My recommendation at this point would be to allow us to take this back to Planning Commission to answer all of those questions and do a fuller, deeper dive, and then bring it back to council.
That's one you said you had 2.
You said answer both of them, right? I got to answer 2. How many acres and how many landowners? That was my 2 questions. How many acres affected and how many landowners?
With that being said, since we kind of got ahead of ourselves, this is the way I would see it with next steps, is that we send this back to Planning Commission to fully vet it.
I agree.
It goes to Planning Commission this month.
Okay.
If it gets through Planning Commission at this meeting, then we can bring it back for 2nd reading on March 9th, and then do the public hearing and 3rd reading on March 23rd.
Any other questions from Ms. Franklin?
I just want to say, I think it makes a lot of sense. I mean, because those houses, I wouldn't want those houses that compact right there by the APZ. I mean, that's, you just, I don't know. And it also feels like it's almost encroaching on the APZ also when you start putting them that dense. Towards it. So.
Well, I mean, on paper, it truly is 1 unit per acre, but when you get on the road scale, and you look at how our development standards can be used to maximize road frontage, you do end up with street level visual densities that look more like a suburban product as opposed to what the joint land use study supports, which is a dispersed pattern of development.
Yeah.
So I need to make a motion to refer this to Planning Commission. Is that right, Mr. Attorney?
First reading.
No. I think what we're looking for is first reading.
I make a motion, first reading.
and referring it to planning commission
Yeah, and go to planning commission.
before second reading.
Yes.
I'll second that. Been moved by Mr. Baker and seconded by Mr. Edens. Any further discussion? All in favor of having first reading to send this to the planning commission, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? First reading of Bill 2021 passes. Third reading, RZ 2016.
Mr. Chairman, before we discuss this matter, I would like to ask the attorney, Brian, to give me an opinion. Should I recuse myself from further discussion on this matter?
Well, you know, I'm reluctant to give individual members of county council advice on ethics. I think it's really between the individual member of county council and the ethics commission. But, having said that your family has an interest in property close by, it would appear to be a conflict of interest. In that case, I would strongly recommend that you recuse yourself from any discussion or vote on the issue.
I greatly appreciate that, Attorney Brown. And another thing, before I leave the room, I was looking over this letter that's addressed to, I guess, the council members. And my name is mentioned in this letter about 5 or 6 times. Many of the comments in this letter are incorrect about me. So I just want you to be aware of that as you discuss that, because there's some statements in here that are incorrect. And that I will leave the room.
Ms. Roden.
Council should have received a memorandum that I sent through Mr. Mixon to all of you that addressed many of the questions that you had at the last meeting. There is no additional information since that memorandum.
Pleasure, council.
Mr. Chairman, I move to deny second reading, third reading. And my reasoning is I am not willing to zone heavy industrial next to a neighborhood. If it was not a neighborhood there, I might understand it, but I always try to look at who was there first. And I think that neighborhood is there, and I do think that could be an impact eventually. If something else was to go in there, heavy industrial, it could create noise or whatever for that neighborhood. And we've already had a lot of issues like that already. So just zoning to heavy industrial is where I'm got issues with this.
We have a motion on the floor from Mr. Baker to deny third reading.
Second.
It's been seconded by Mr. Edens. Any further discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you. And, I purposely was one that wanted us to wait, you know, to not to defer second reading, but to allow it so that we would have opportunity to go out and take a look at it, you know, and trying to be fair to everyone who comes before us. And, I had the opportunity to go out there and I see where it could be and could have an adverse effect to a residential area where, you know, if people are raising children and everything, if you have heavy equipment and there's a lot of things, it can have an adverse effect. And I just wanted to say that I'm going to have to go with the 92, but I wish the gentleman well and hope that he can find a real good use for his property. In any other circumstances, I would be glad to support it. Thank you.
Any further discussion? We have a motion and a second on the floor to deny third reading. All in favor of denying third reading, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Mr. Bird opposes. Motion to deny third reading passes. Next order of business Ordinance number 21-942, Mr. Bryan.
Mr. Chairman, members of council, this is a public, you're gonna have a second reading. Prior to second reading.
Mr. Bryan, I'm sorry. Ms. Blandon, would you please get Mr. Baker?
Sorry.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't. Thank you, Mr. Baker. You may proceed, Mr. Bryan.
Mr. Chairman, you have on your agenda a second reading on ordinance 21-942, which is the ordinance to approve a fee and lieu tax agreement for Thompson Construction involving the spec buildings that they've already purchased. We've been over this several times. Prior to second reading, you'll have a public hearing. There have been no changes since first reading. I'll be glad to take any questions that any members of county council have about the ordinance prior to public hearing.
Any questions of Mr. Bryan? Prior to us voting on second reading of ordinance 21-942, I now declare a public hearing open. Anyone wishing to speak for or against ordinance 21-942, please proceed to the podium. Seeing none, public hearing is closed.
Move for second reading. Second.
Been moved and properly seconded that we have second reading on ordinance 21-942. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of second reading? Aye. All opposed? Second reading of ordinance 21-942 is passed. Mr. Bryan, ordinance 21-943.
Mr. Chairman, like the other ordinance, this is involving the spec building, and it's an ordinance to put the spec building into the Sumter Lee multi-county industrial park. And again, you will have public hearing prior to second reading on 21-943.
Any questions of Mr. Bryan? I now declare public hearing open for 21-943. Anyone wishing to speak for or against the ordinance, please proceed to the podium. Seeing none, public hearing is closed.
Approval, second reading. Second. Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Byrd and seconded by Mr. Baker. Any further discussion? All in favor of ordinance approving second reading of ordinance 21-943, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? 21-943 is passed. First reading for ordinance 21-947, Mr. Bryan.
Yeah, I think under new business, our next is 21-945, Mr. Chairman. It's an ordinance to amend Suffolk County Code of Ordinance relating to the business license renewal deadlines. That's the way I'm reading it.
I don't have that on my agenda.
First item under new business.
Okay, it's been cut off tonight. I'm sorry. Ordinance 29-45, Mr. Bryan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You may be aware that the General Assembly enacted a uniform business license statute in 2020, and it's going to actually go into effect on January 1st, 2022. However, that gives local governments, both city and county governments, the opportunity to bring their own business license ordinances in line with the new uniform statute that the General Assembly passed. This is the first step that we'll need to take to bring our ordinance in line, and it's just simply to move the deadline for renewing a business license from March 15th, actually March 14th, to April the 30th. our current ordinance says that licenses have to be renewed on or before March 15th. But under the uniform statute, all business licenses will renew on or before May the 1st, so April 30th is the deadline. This ordinance we have tonight just makes that shift. There'll be some other changes coming. Steve Campbell, who runs that office for us, is not here tonight, but he informed me that he and his staff are waiting for a model ordinance coming from the Municipal Association that they will use as a template to dovetail what we have with what we need to have. That will come later, but we need to shift the deadline because, March 15th is going to be upon us pretty quickly. We have 3 readings, so this is just one of 2 or 3 steps it will take to get our business license ordinance in line with the uniform statute.
Move for approval, first reading.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Byrd and seconded by Mr. Baker that we have first reading on ordinance 21-945. Any discussion?
I just wanted to ask, and that's uniform throughout the state of South Carolina.
Yes, everybody who has a business license ordinance, city or county, will have to get theirs in line with this uniform regulation or statute that the General Assembly has imposed.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of approving ordinance 21-945, first reading, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ordinance 21-945. Emergency ordinance 21-946, Mr. Bryant.
Mr. Chairman, you heard an improvement introduced. You've had first reading on an ordinance amendment to it and create a new zone. And what this does is prevent this emergency ordinance prevent anyone from acquiring a vested right to subdivide or otherwise develop property in those areas until the ordinance goes through and you have third reading. So this just maintains the status quo, what we have right now, until we can complete the process of having that ordinance then go to the planning commission and come back to you for second and third readings.
Yes,
So,
proceed.
just within this area that the rule was discussed.
Right, you see,
That's clear in ordinance when it ends. In this emergency ordinance, is it clear when it ends?
61 days.
Thank you.
It's,
Yeah, just read up on it.
no land shall be subdivided and no building permit shall be permitted in the following areas. Along the extended center line of the main runway, shall Air Force Base, that's 04 left to 22 right, and 242 feet each side of the center line, from the threshold at each end of the runway to Eaton's Road on the northeast and Highway 261 on the southwest.
Move for approval. And moved by Mr. Baker, and seconded by Mr. Edens, that we approve first reading on emergency ordinance 21-946 that will expire in 61 days. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Emergency ordinance 21-946 is passed. 21-947.
Mr. Chairman, 21947 is an ordinance to allow restricted covenants to be placed on that property we used to call the Lewis Lance tract. It's a big rectangular property bordered by Highway 521, the railroad track, St. Matthew Church Road, and Racetrack Road. That's the area where we just sold some property to Nova Molecular, and so when we recorded that deed, these same covenants were attached to that deed. So these covenants have been imposed on the piece of property that Nova Molecular bought. Recording these covenants, with your permission, according to this ordinance, will allow the rest of the property to be encumbered by these same covenants. I've gotten input from Mr. Nixon, Jay Schrader and his staff, and everyone agrees this is a good way to protect the property so it becomes more valuable to those industries we like to attract.
Any questions, Mr. Bryan? Move first reading.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Edens and seconded by Ms. McGaney that we have first reading on ordinance 21-947. Any further discussion? All in favor? Please say aye. All opposed? Okay, I think we go down to second reading of ordinance 21-944, Mr. President.
Yes, sir. This is second reading on ordinance 21-944 to create the Sumter City County Litter Advisory Board. No changes since first reading.
There is no public hearing required on this second reading. Move approval. Move approval. It's been moved and properly seconded that we approve second reading on ordinance 21-944. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any report from council members on meetings?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I have been contacted by the Sumter County Sheriff's Advisory Board, and they've heard of the litter campaign that we are doing, and they would like to participate and join us in addressing that issue. And they've also suggested that the city of Sumter has a litter advisory group as well, and they would like to exercise a back and forth liaison to help us tackle this issue. Something that I would encourage, as you probably are aware prior to coming on council, I served on the Sheriff's Advisory Committee, and that's one of the things that we were really interested in and focused on. And in addition to that, as you know, I've been doing some research on the litter issue, and I've actually been talking to Orangeburg County and planning a visit to Orangeburg to actually eyeball their litter truck in action. It's also my understanding that Beaufort has a similar situation. Of course, Greenville does as well. So I expect to report back to council on all of those pieces, but I did want to inform council that the Sheriff's Advisory Committee, as well as the Sumter City Advisory Committee, my understanding is would like to participate with us in addressing this issue. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any other reports from council?
Mr. Chairman, this is not a report. Just wanted to inform everyone that we were given the opportunity to have one person, and we all received the email message, and it's a leadership training that is sponsored by NACO, and they offered a free course, leadership course, to counties, and allowing one person for the county to participate. And I saw the message, no one had signed up yet. And so at the very last minute, I went ahead and agreed to participate in. And it's real good, but it is so time consuming. But it is an excellent opportunity to hear from others and network. And it's done virtually, but there are people from all over this country who are participating. And one of the persons who helps out and who gives the pointers and the leadership training is the former Secretary of State General and member of Joint Chiefs of Staff General Colin Powell. He's one of the trainers, and it's just really awesome. And I just wanted to let you all know that I'm representing the county, and I hope I still have my sanity by the time it's over. Thank you.
Any other reports?
Mr. Chairman, is someone going to give a report on the veterans and COVID-19?
It's in the packet.
The information is in council's packet.
Well, I would like to add something to that, please. As you know, I've been very concerned about the number of veterans that are dying as a result of the pandemic. I was really heartbroken when I read the front page of the item today when they talked about the number of people that are dying from overdose of drugs, and particularly in Sumter County. Being a former executive director of the Sumter Drug and Alcohol Commission, I'm still licensed as a licensed master social worker. And they mentioned some of the things that the city or the county can do to address this problem. And I would like for us to invite the executive director of Behavioral Health Services, Mr. Ben Pigler, to come before us and give us a briefing on what is happening with the problem of overdose in Sumter County. I think it's a very serious problem. And with the pandemic and COVID-19, they say it's contributing a lot to that. So I would hope that we can invite him here to brief us on what is going on. I've been looking at the obituary and the Sumter item since December the 8th, and up until February the 9th, that's been 64 days. And out of those 64 days, there have been 47 individual military persons that have died from, and I don't know if they're all COVID related, but they were military veterans, older military veterans, average age around 72, and 47 of them have died. As you know, the number of confirmed COVID cases in Sumter as of today is 7,824. And we continue to see an increase in the number of COVID deaths. It's now to 135. And they say it's possible another 18. So I'm beginning to see a big rise in the number of cohort deaths in Sumter County. Again, we can look at doing a mask ordinance, and I'm going to keep bringing that up, making it mandatory that we have a mask ordinance. There was a young man that wrote a letter to the editor, and he said in that letter, something's not masking up while out shopping. Went to Walmart on Broad Street this morning. I wasn't in there more than 10 minutes, saw at least 8 to 10 people with no masks. I go to Circle K on McCrae's Mill Road every day in the morning for coffee. Many people don't wear masks. What's wrong with the people in Sumter? They all can't be that stupid. It's about time the mayor did something. Signed, Paul Marshall, Sumter. That appeared in the item on Wednesday, February the 3rd. So again, I'm wondering why the city can do something that this body can't do to protect the citizens of this county. And I appreciate you allowing me to talk. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other reports from Councilman?
Mr. Chairman, may I respond, please?
Absolutely.
I'm one of the votes that's been against a mask ordinance. And I'm not against wearing a mask. I wear a mask. I try to keep my distance. And I wash my hands. I've got a mother and father who are 90 and 91 in a living facility, and I praise the Lord every day that they've gotten through this thing without getting COVID. And I've seen them 6 times in the last year. They won't let you in there to see them. And I understand why, and I'm all for it. But it's hard on everybody. When you start putting a mandated mask ordinance like the city has, just like the young man replied in the paper, it's not enforceable. They don't enforce it. So I've tried to make sense of this, and
you know, I'm a simple-minded person. I'm looking at Sumter's population. As a matter of fact, I have the numbers higher, Mr. Bacon, than you do. Sumter County has 107,345 people is what the last census has on Sumter. Our cases were 8,513 as of February 7th. The deaths, 153. So just me trying to figure out how to figure this out, I divided the population into the number of cases. And it comes out to be 0.07, which is about 7% of our population has got the COVID. It's been infected with it. I also divided it into the number of deaths, which comes out to 1.001, which is 0.1% of the people that died from COVID. I wish nobody had died from it, but still, that's the numbers. And then I wanted to compare it to the counties that have a mass ordinance. Richland has a mass ordinance. They're at 0.08, which they're a tenth of a point higher than we are with the spread of COVID. Their death rate is the exact same as ours, 0.1. Charleston has a mass ordinance. Their spread rate, or I guess infection rate, is 0.08, which is still higher than Sumter's. Let me find it. 0.002 is their death rate, and their rate of infection is 0.09, which is 0.2 higher than Sumter. Oconee County has one. Their spread rate or infection rate is 0.09%. Their death rate is 0.001, which is the same as Sumter. Georgetown has it. Theirs is 0.08%, which is 8% of the population has it. And their death rate is 0.002, which is 1/10 higher than, or 1/10 of a tenth higher than Sumter. Williamsburg has it. Theirs is 0.08. Excuse me. Williamsburg has it. Theirs is 0.002, the death rate, and their rate of infection is 11% of their population, 0.11. Carlton has it. Theirs is their rate is 0.07. 7% of their population has it, same as Sumter, and the death rate is 0.002. Calhoun has it. Theirs is 0.07, same as Sumter, and their death rate is 0.002. Horry County had it. They ended it as of December the 30th. Their rate was 0.08, 0.001 was their death rate. So when I look at it, the counties, Sumter seems to be one of the safer counties to be in right now, than anyone in the state. We've got some of these counties that are just with mass ordinance that are really are up at almost 12% of the population. So I just wanted to defend why I feel like, and I don't need a response from you. I'm just letting you know why my vote was no. I just don't see it being effective. And the numbers pretty much prove it to me.
Okay, well, I greatly appreciate you giving me that information, and thank you. When you start looking at the confirmed cases, you're looking at 8,500. Well, that's because there's a possible cases of 746 that I didn't add to the 7,824. I'm getting my statistics from South Carolina Department of Environmental Control, and I got those statistics as of today at 12 o'clock. It's the same with the number of deaths in Sumter. They said 135 with a possible 18. So when you add that to that, you'll get to 150 when you add that 18, okay? So that's something that I want you to know. Also, when this young man wrote the letter, I called Walmart and talked to the manager there. And I read the letter to her and I said, do you have a mask mandate for people coming in? And she said, yes, we do. But we have people that do not want to wear masks. And they give us all kinds of excuses, like they cannot wear one for medical reasons and so forth. We have masks available for everyone who don't have one. But we are not going to stop someone from shopping because we really can't verify if what they're saying is true or not. So that's the problem that they're having. And as you know, we have so many stupid people out here, like this man said, who will challenge wearing a mask because of the fact that they think it violates their constitutional rights. And you know this. They constantly boast about this. You're taking away my constitutional rights and trying to force me to wear a mask. That's what we're dealing with. But here's another thing that I want you to be aware of, because you represent a lot of veterans in your district.
I do.
Yes, you do. Those are the ones that are at high risk of dying from COVID-19. They're at high risk because many of them, and like I've said before, have served in combat areas where they have been exposed to herbicides. And one of those herbicides is Agent Orange, which you said you never even heard of.
Beg your pardon, I've heard of it.
Well, you've heard of it now, but the last
I've
time.
heard of it long before that.
Okay, all right, well.
You must be thinking of the wrong person.
No, okay, well, someone said they didn't know of herbicide or Agent Orange. Well, you know.
I got some in a 30-gallon drum.
Yeah, I appreciate it. If you have some, just spray it on your yard and your grass.
I've been spreading it for 30 years.
And you were fortunate that you didn't contract some of the 14 diseases that the military personnel contracted serving in Vietnam and Thailand. I can attest to that. I served in Thailand at a base where they sprayed the base daily, just about with Agent Orange. As a result of that, I contracted ischemic heart disease, I contracted diabetes, I contracted prostate cancer. All of those things are Agent Orange related.
Disagreeing with you, Mr.
Okay, so I just want you to know,
these veterans, there's 12
right, I just want you to know that you got a lot of military people in your district that are afraid to go outside because, and I talk to them. I talk to them because I'm a member of the combat veterans. Yeah.
They were scared to come out of their yard?
Well, they're scared to go outside because people are not wearing masks.
Well, Mr. Bacon,
okay,
where does this thing spread? They said the three highest spread rates are in nursing homes, colleges, schools, correctional centers. And the big one is at home. That's where a lot of people get it from. Okay. Where can they go in the county?
Mr. Baker, I just looked at the obituary. I just looked at the obituary every day. And for the last 64 days, there have been 47 veterans that have died, okay? And because we have a high rate of veterans around Shaw Air Force Base and in Sumter County, military veterans, and they are older military veterans, these are the ones that I'm concerned about.
I couldn't agree more with you, Mr. Baker.
Okay.
I mean,
I just want you to.
But anybody over 70 is at a high risk right now with this COVID. So, I mean, it's not, I'm concerned about everybody.
Yes. Okay. You know, I'm just trying to say,
okay, well,
I'm trying to save lives, Mr.
Baker.
That's my goal, is to save lives. And I know that the veterans around Shaw and veterans in this county, because I talk with them, I talk with the veterans, that they have real concerns and they are afraid of going out because there's no mask ordinance and a lot of people are walking around in this county without masks. That's all I'm saying. Thank you, Mr. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other reports from council? Mr. Landry?
I'm sorry, I attended a forum, last week, and Mr. Chairman, you were there too. There were doctors, explaining about the different, vaccinations for, the COVID-19, and, it was very interesting. They gave testimonials as to how it affects, how some of the after, the pains or whatever. Um, but the conclusion of it all is it is so much better to take the vaccination than to not take it and to be infected by the COVID-19. And they're encouraging everyone to encourage the elderly people to go ahead there are some places where you can get in line and take it, or you can use your email address and register at the different places that administer it. And so we're encouraged to encourage them until we can get it ourselves. And this is a personal testimony. I've been exposed to, being in contact with it so often. And so I had to have a test done today. And thankfully mine came back negative. But, and I think that it came back negative because I wear a mask. Because you notice I have on two. And so it's just, just recommended, and I was one that voted for it, but I realized that you can't enforce it. And then, and I know that we can't win everything, so,
They also, I believe at 65 now, you can get the shot, right?
Yeah, but I haven't got to 65.
I'm there. I done signed up, so I'm already up for it. Get the next round.
Yes, but, we just, pray for those who are affected, and I pray for those who've lost loved ones. People are dying every day, and I, just hope that everybody will have an open mind. And I will say this, that the Pfeiffer seems to have less side effects or after effects than Moderna, but they are both so minimal until it's easy to just get it and just have a little soreness, and after a while you're okay. Then you go get the next one, you're fine.
Well, Vivian also was gonna say that my parents, 90 and 91, just had their second shot.
Okay.
There's been no effect,
Okay.
any on them.
Yeah, the main thing is maybe a little soreness in the arm.
They didn't even complain about sores, so.
Okay.
It was good.
If you get stuck, you're gonna be sore a little bit. I was stuck in the finger today, so that's a little sore, but I'll get over it. Okay.
Ms. B, any more monthly reports?
Yes, sir. Biggest thing is tomorrow, I believe it is, the DOA meeting will be February 10th at the Opera House. And also the COVID report is in your packet. However, it didn't show up because I didn't click the button that says to show up. But that's what I was showing you just a minute ago. And I'll make sure I send it to you. The last thing is several council members have registered for the South Carolina Rules Summit. Those that have not, if you're interested, please let me know so I can get that out of the way. Also, council members should be receiving, if they haven't already, the city, county, blank. It's the paperwork you just.
Summer Shaw.
Shaw Community Council. And if you haven't filled it out, just let me know, just call in and I'll fill it out for you and send it on in. I have a few of them on my desk, but the rest of you that have not sent it to me, please get it to me immediately, and I'll appreciate it. Or if you just tell me before you leave tonight, I'll be glad to get it taken care of for you. Thank you.
Make a motion to adjourn.
So moved. It's been moved and properly second that we adjourn.